How's it going, gentlemen and 1% female audience? Coop here, and today we are jumping into Baldur's Gate. It's finally out. Finally. Today's guide is going to be focusing more about character creation and making sure you do the right things when you're building your character. More specifically, we're going to be talking about race and class combinations, skills and abilities. Keep in mind, everything is in early access. Things are subject to change. There's going to be lots and lots of changes, lots of different races, lots of different things being added, and certain things being changed around and balanced. So give it time. There's going to be some different stuff coming out. This is an early video. Once everything is updated, I will make another video that kind of updates everything out as we go forward. Anyways, enough ranting. Let's jump in. Let's talk about it. Baldur's Gate is based off of the Dungeons & Dragons based system. Some people know what that means. Some people have no clue. They just really wanted to buy this game and jump in and figure out what's the hype about it. That's okay. I'm here to help you today. So, when designing your character, it's based off of a lot of their stat lines and kind of like how they roll the dice. There's lots of little hidden dice rolls along the way, and so building your character really is important. Race and class combination and doing the right skills and ability points is the definition of making a really good character or having a really bad character, depending on what you choose. So, when first jumping into the character creation, you have your origin. You have a variety of different origin options here. Sadly, with the early access, you will not be able to see the storylines of the main origin characters. You will only be able to do custom. Basically, these characters are similar to like Divinity Original Sin for my subscribers that followed me for that. Basically, they are main story characters that have a sort of a storyline that plays out as you play it. These are locked to their class and race. You can't really change the look of them. They are forced to look that certain way. And on top of it, you get to choose your background. These give you proficiencies, which gives you sort of a proficiency in those skill rolls. So, for example, I have Insight and Religion. So anytime I walk by sort of religion-based items or I'm having religious-based talks, I am more likely to get a better roll out of it. Now, I would go to race second, but when it comes to building a character, it's actually better to start with class, as the class profile will allow you to figure out the sort of playstyle that you're going to be playing as, and then the race will kind of accent and sort of match up with it based off of what you choose. So let's talk about these classes so you kind of have like an understanding of what they are. You've got the Cleric, probably one of the easiest playstyles to do. They're sword and board, or they can have like a two-hander, but basically what they are is a full-on support-based character. They get tons of spells. They have different domains, which are specializations in the type of support that they give. But basically, they have spells. They have different sort of spells that you prepare as, every single time you get a rest. They get tons of shield proficiencies and different things as time goes on. Based off of your different subclasses, you'll get different things as well. So, such as the life domain gets heavy armor. If we go to the light domain, they'll get different light-based spells and cantrips. And the trickery domain, which gets an action which can give people stealth. So, gives them a better stealth, gives them disguise stealthier. So basically, when it comes to the Cleric, you build it based on the support type that you want to be. Fighter. You are a martial weapons man. You run into battle and you hit them with your giant sword, or you can also hit them with your good old crossbow on the side, depending on what type of weapon you have. These guys are more about being the big hitters of damage. They can also be the tanky boys as well. Every couple of levels, you will get a sort of trait to where you get to pick what type of fighter you are, whether that is increasing your AC, which is, your protection and your armor, or it could be you being better at dual wielding, or you being better at two-handed, better at archery. It's basically with the fighter, it's all about customizing you for combat. You are very much combat heavy. There's not much sort of RP and talking your way through situations. It's more of you are the bruiser or the fast dexterous sort of fighter on the battlefield. The Ranger. The Ranger is very similar to the Fighter. However, this one is more focused on the skills and the abilities that it has on the side to very much customize it for unique situations. Compared to the Fighter, which is, good at all different types of combat and running into combat, the Ranger is more about its niches, its sort of abilities that it uses to make the combat easier. They're kind of a support-based fighter. So what do I mean by that? They get like their favorite enemies, for example. So for example, you could be like a ranger knight with heavier armor. You can be like this, which gets Sacred Flame, which causes radiant damage. You got Mage Breaker, which allows you a True Strike. And then you have also like protection against good and evil, which allows you to have certain enemy types avoid attacking you. Bounty Hunters, which allows you to basically learn Thieves' Cant and Investigation. So, and then also on top of it, you get your Explorer trait, which allows you to be able to like cast like Find Familiar, for example. You can use your Disguise Kit and Thieves tools a lot easier. Maybe you can like walk better in certain different areas, so such as like you gain resistance to fire and only take half damage from fire, which is pretty good when you're walking around on the ship. So that's kind of how the Ranger works. Just very much customized fighter based off of what you end up doing. Rogue. Rogue is all about basically running in and hiding. You're hiding, you're setting up the plays, you're doing the high IQ moves, so that way you can sneak and do different sneak attacks. They also have the ability of lockpicking, which allows you to get through locked doors and locked chests, allowing you to not have to like look all over the room to find like a hidden key and whatnot. Sometimes they're very nice to have just in the party, just to get through some of those obstacles and not have to do the annoying puzzles for it. The Warlock. So the Warlock is a dark spellcaster focused around praising a deity. Based off of that D&D, they get different sort of abilities. So, for example, the Fiend is more about psychic damage. Or, not the Fiend, the Great Old One, which is more about psychic damage. The Fiend, which is more about fire and Asmodeus and, like, devils and stuff. Now, the thing that's interesting about the Warlock is actually you can be a melee-based spellcaster. So, the Fiend, you get Armor of Agathis and Arms of Hadar, and you get Blade Ward, but the main trait is the Dark One's Blessing, which every time you kill something, you get health back. So you get, like, Charisma and your level up. Very interesting to have because it allows you to be able to do some different combinations with it. Next, we've got the Wizard. The Wizard is overall just hardcore spellcaster. You can't really do any crazy combinations of them. They have no armor proficiency whatsoever. They get Arcane Recovery, which allows them to be able to regen spell slots, which is super duper handy. These guys get a ton of spells, and then they kind of prepare which spells they're going to be doing for the day, every single rest. And in the beginning, they're a little bit rougher. They're harder to play. It's a harder play style, but after a while, you are insanely strong. Like, you'll just get some really powerful spells and spell combinations that you can do, making them insane on the battlefield. And it's nice to have that extra range and powerful things to set up plays as you're using your other characters. Now we get into races. We'll try to keep this very short, as I know, like, I don't want to ramble on too much, because there's a lot, especially with the races. But basically, jumping in here, Elves, they get high dexterity, allowing them to be really good, like rogues, sort of dexterous fighters and everything. They have proficiencies in a ton of different items here. So, you know, long sword, short swords, long bow, short bow. You know, overall, some pretty good sort of proficiencies to have there. They have dark vision, so they can see in the dark. They're also immune to being put to sleep, and they have saving throws against being charmed. They also have a higher perception. Now, they also have their sub-races. So, with High Elf, you get to choose a cantrip. With being a Wood Elf, you get to walk a lot faster, be able to sneak a little bit more, and also you get +1 to Wisdom. So, just something to keep in mind, especially as you're going forward, basing your class off of those. Tiefling, probably one of the best warlocks out there, or bards when they finally release them. Basically, they get charisma and intelligence, so very all pretty good there. You can also use them for different other classes as well. Maybe you want to use them as a mage who talks his way and is kind of the face of the party. You can do that as well. They get a resistance to fire, and they have dark vision. They also have their different sub-races, which allow them to get different cantrips. So you have Vermiturge, for example, for your Asmodeus ones. Mephiphilis, or however the hell you pronounce that. They get Mage Hand. And then the one that's actually different is the Zariel one, which gets strength instead of intelligence. And that is really good for the blade locks, or if you end up being a paladin when they release it. Drow are, you know, really good sort of rogues, and overall dexterous fighters or face-up parties. They also get some of the more interesting proficiencies such as rapiers, short swords, hand crossbows, and they have superior dark vision so they can see from afar. They also get the cantrip of Dancing Lights. They do have sub-races, but both the sub-races are just basically more of flavor text. They don't actually really affect your gameplay as much. Eventually, you will be going to the Underdark later on in the campaign once this is fully released. And based off of this decision, I'm sure that it will have some differences depending on what you pick. Humans are god-awful. We'll just be skipping them. Actually, okay, going back to them. They're not terrible, but they're not great. They have points in literally everything, but they are a master of nothing. The only thing that I could see them being used for is a Cleric, because you get a little bit of that strength, Dexterity for increasing your AC, Constitution for a little bit more life, Intelligence for, I guess, skill checks, and Wisdom, but they're just not that good. Githyanki, really good fighters. They get light armor and medium armor proficiency. They get short sword, long sword, and great sword proficiency. All about that sword life. They get Mage Hand, which allows them to do some different combinations, such as like summoning the Mage Hand, pushing a character in front of them, and then them being able to slash him up. They get a point in intelligence, which is great because later on, as you level up, you'll be able to get a specialization. And in fighter, they have an Eldritch Knight, which is all about spellcaster fighter. So really interesting character to do as well there. Dwarves. These guys are martial, like in the fight, badasses. They are all about running into the fight. And in Baldur's Gate, I would definitely say that they are probably one of the better fighters out there. So when it comes to them, they get Constitution, which allows them to have more health, Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Light Hammer, Warhammer, and Dark Vision. They also have Dwarven Resilience, which allows them to have resistance to poison. Now for their sub-races, they have Dwarven Toughness, which gives them more HP and Wisdom, making them really good clerics. Next you have the Shield Dwarf, which gives +2 strength and gets light and medium armor proficiency, which allows them to be really good just fighters, like just doing big old damage and having a big amount of health. So overall, really good to have. Half-Elf are what I wish humans were. These guys are really customizable. They have Charisma, so allowing them to be the face of the party, or really good Warlocks or Bards. They also get 2 points that they get to put into any sort of ability improvements that they want. So you can do things like Dexterity and Intelligence or whatnot. You can't put 2 points in the same thing. I wish you could, but you can't. They also have the same thing as Elves, where they can't be put to sleep. They get to customize what sort of cantrip they get, or you can be a Wood Elf, which gets a little bit easier with being able to hide, or you can be a Drow, which gets the cantrip of Dancing Lights. Next we got Halfling. These guys are amazing rogues. They can stealth, they can hide, they can shoot from afar, all different types of stuff. Depending on what combination of class and race with them, you can actually make them to where they're really good hunters or really good fighters, depending on what type of sort of build you're going for. These guys are really good at sneaking and have charisma, and the Strongheart ones have really good resistances and constitution. If you want to do more of a fighter-based halfling, this is the way to go. I definitely recommend them, because it's kind of like a fun combination of just being a little short guy in armor running up and just slashing away. So, definitely something to keep in mind when jumping forward. Nexus Skills, these are your abilities for outside of combat, mainly, but these allow you to be able to do different skill checks. Based off of your class, you will get different points. So similar to how background gave me religion and insight, I can actually put 2 points in here depending on sort of my class. These are the ones that I can use. These are the ones I can't use with this class. If I were to change my class, such as Warlock, I'll get different class skills. So basically do the combination of stuff that you feel. Build the character how exactly you feel like it should be built. Next you have your ability points. Based off of different points is how you can end up building your character. So kind of build these around based off of what your class needs. So we'll go down and just do a quick rundown of what each of these do. This increases your damage with your strength-based weapons. It also determines how far you can use your jump ability. It also determines how much weight you can carry. Very nice. It's very nice to have because I had a sort of a party where I was playing with all my friends, and we were mostly spellcasters, and it was rough carrying all the fat loot that we had because we had to kind of divide it amongst all the characters. So just having a strength-based character be kind of like the pack mule is not a bad idea. Next, you got Dexterity, which this allows you to be able to be really good with your different finesse-based weapons, which are finesse-based weapons are weapons that can use Dexterity instead of Strength in order to attack. It also allows you to have higher initiative, so you are going first in combat, and on top of it, certain types of armors, it has a chance of increasing your AC, which is your armor class, which is basically, you know, how much damage you end up taking, or if it even hits you. Constitution, just more HP. Intelligence, which is basically knowing how things work in your spellcaster ability for wizards and certain wizard-based spells. So if you're like an Eldritch fighter, you're going to be using this. Arcane Trickster, you use Intelligence. It's also good for Arcana and History and Investigation checks and everything. Wisdom. Wisdom's all about wisdom-based spells, such as Druids, Rangers, and Clerics. Basically, it helps out with like more of the animalistic and survival-based skills, so Perception, Survival, Medicine, Animal Handling, all that. Charisma, face-of-party stuff, Deception, Intimidation, Performance, Persuasion. How do you talk through a situation? Also, this is useful for Warlocks as and Bards as they use their Charisma for being able to use their abilities. So, anyways, guys, that is the rundown of all of Baldur's Gate sort of character creation. I hope you guys kind of have like a better understanding of what exactly how to build a character. As time goes on, we're going to be diving in a lot more deeper into this stuff. I just didn't want to make like a 30-minute video trying to explain everything. I wanted to give you guys just a little nitpick, run down everything real quick, give you an understanding so you can just jump in there, build a character, and build it awesome and not have a rough time while playing. Anyways, be sure to subscribe. I need more subscribers. We're getting so close to 2K. I can almost taste it. So, and plus once I get to like 2K, I'll be able to release my new merch, which I know you guys really love the Galaxy merch that's been coming out. So, as time goes on, there's going to be some different merch that's going to be coming out. It's going to be really, really good. But in order to do that, I need to get to 2K, and I believe in you guys. So, without further ado, I will see you guys next time. Stay awesome. Bye-bye.